I think my voice has just barely made it through. All right, so this is the part we call the Afterburn. And so if anybody has a comment or question that they want to share, you can go ahead and raise your hand here. If you're online, Robert will be taking care of that on the online. We're going to try to limit this to about 20, 30 minutes, so we're not just sitting here all day with that, because we could certainly take the Afterburn for hours.
Wow, this teaching just spoke so much to me, Rabbi. I mean, I'm just so appreciative of Abba Father for bringing us here from Texas, my husband to agreeing to come even though he has this issue with his back. But I needed to listen to this message today. I just heard the same topic, trust. You have been obeying, but are you trusting? And I'm not. There are areas in my life where I'm not trusting. And so I guess my question to you, Rabbi, would be, how do we get to that level to truly trust from your heart? I know you mentioned make the exercise of writing what he has done in your life and go over it and meditate on it. But is there anything that you can give me to come back home and really focus on so I can really work on that issue? Thank you so much.
Okay, so first of all, a teaching we need to mention is, do you trust Yahweh enough to obey him? That's one more teaching to add to the list. You know, look, I think the biggest thing that you can do, and then you can come back to me if it doesn't work, is write out the things that he's done in your life or that you've personally witnessed. Because sometimes it's hard to relate to what happened in the book. You weren't there. It didn't happen to you directly. So remind yourself of the things he's already done for you, especially when you found yourself in a terribly challenging place. So if you can remind yourself, I was here in this terrible, challenging place, and this is what he did. And then I was in this other challenging place, and this is what he did. And that should help build your confidence and trust that if he did it before, why wouldn't he continue to do it? It's part of the relationship he promises to do. He also promises things like he won't allow you to come under a challenge that's beyond your ability to handle it. Handle it sometimes means your ability to suffer through it while he's handling it, but your ability to get through it. So just keep that in mind, okay? Nate?
I just had a question.
You got to put that mic right on.
Question/statement. You mentioned Dayenu and being satisfied, being content with where we're at, but we've also understood the teaching of we need to also press forward. Particularly like with my work, I was very content with where I wasn't seeking any kind of leadership or moving forward. But since coming under your teaching, it was, hey, you need to try to excel, move forward, that kind of thing. Does it have to do with, like with the children of Israel, it seemed like greed versus a desire to please Yahweh? Is that a correct correlation if I'm trying to provide for not only my own children, but my grandchildren and their great-grandchildren in a desire to be a blessing to my family in order to please Yahweh versus I want, because I want to be like the Rockefellers in the future or whatever.
Right. Okay, so good question. There's a difference between being content and look, the people that are striving for more are not content. But you can go and make your striving for more from a position of, I want to be able to do the most I can do. If I don't get there, I'm content. The ones who are striving in a whole different effort, they're not going to be content unless they get there. And even when they get there, they're not going to be content because they always have that insatiable desire for more. You say, okay, I'm providing and I'm okay, but I can do more. Because I can do a better job of providing. I can provide so there's less stress in the family because we have more to be able to do. That is trying to maximize your ability to be that provider. As opposed to, I just want. That's the greed-driven or status-driven or keeping up with the Joneses-driven, whatever it is. It's the wrong drive. But if you're driven to say, I want to provide for my children's children, because it says if you don't provide, then you're worse than an infidel. Well, then you're wanting to do it to be obedient to him and to do the most you can do. My role as a man, first and foremost, is provider, protector. So I should be making every effort to be the best provider I can. Not because I want bigger, better toys, but because I want to provide better. Okay? Provide in a more long-term way for like the next generation. So, yes, we should be aiming higher with the idea, though, whatever I get to will be fine. If I don't get any further, it'll be fine. But I'm going to make the effort because I want to do the best I can do, the most I can do, to maximize what he created me to do. I'm not going to just say, well, this is enough, and I'm going to just sit back and eat bonbons and watch TV. Okay? But you want to not be discontented because of not achieving, and not discontented because you didn't hit that goal. But you just want to aim and put in the effort, because it's in putting in the effort that you grow. Provided that that's the journey is the goal. I want to make the journey. Wherever I get to is okay. I'm going to make the journey. And so that's where we're looking for as far as being content and finding that peace. Trust me, there are people out there who are making millions who are totally there's no peace in them. It's not enough. They want more. They're always worried someone's going to take it away or whatever it is. You have to find a way to go and run that race to get the crown. By the way, running the race to get the crown isn't just finishing the race. You're trying to win. But you'll be happy and content wherever you end up, knowing you did the best you could. It's kind of like we tell our children, hey, it's okay. Did you try as hard as you could? Did you do the best you can? Yes, then you did great. Our Heavenly Father is exactly the same. Put in maximum effort, do it with everything you've got, and as far as you get, He will be proud of you. Knowing that you left it all, so to feel, the phrase is leaving it all on the field. Leave it all on the field. Put every effort in you can to be the best father, best provider, best son, best brother if you're a man, best wife, best daughter, best mother, whatever. If you're a kid, best child, and then when you get to be a parent, you're going to be a best. Focus on doing those things as best you can, understanding all the elements of it, but being content that you did the best you could. Don't be frustrated. Don't have your shalom destroyed because you didn't get to where you thought you should, or worse, where somebody else thought you should. Don't let them create that lack of peace in your life because they're going to say, you didn't do good enough. Only you know if you left it all on the field, so to speak. And if you did everything, you know what it says by Paul says? He says, and having done all, stand. But you got to do all first, okay? So hopefully that shows balance in it. I mean, in this ministry, could be happy with exactly what we have, but I think we can do more. I think we could be more useful. But if it never gets bigger than this, that's fine. I won't have any peace disturbances or any issues like that. But there's the idea of providing more and doing more, maximizing what we can do. The problem is when we become complacent, which leads to then lazy. All right? And so we want to not get to that place. Okay, Zarek.
I can't remember. I think it was in Psalms 25.
Did you put the blonde in to match your sister just as a...
No, mine was, I wanted to dye my hair to match my wife's when it was dyed, and then I went to shave it out when I had to go back to do the military thing, and it came back blonde.
Oh, okay.
Mine was accidental.
Okay. After purple, it went blonde. Okay.
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
Somewhere in Psalms, when you was reading, and it just brought to mind this stuff, kind of faith in the answer of maybe waiting, not when I originally applied for the job I have now, just over 3 years ago, and it was, I did really good, but not quite good enough to get the job, and it was kind of disheartening, and then I got the job at Volkswagen, which is great, and then things started going bad there, and kind of went to my dad for counsel for it. Hey, this is what they're saying, what should I do? He's like, okay, make the compromise here, because that follows the rules, but you're not breaking Torah, so that's where you're going to stand fast at, and I did, and it still wasn't working out. And then right before I was going to get fired from it, I got the job that I was wanting 3 years ago anyways. And just like being patient for that opportunity. And now they're all like, it's kind of turned into a witness this last week. A lot of people were like, wait, you worked at Volkswagen? Why would you leave there? Well, I was fixing to get fired, and this was the job I have been going for the last 4 or 5 years. So I was happy to get this. It's a better job.
Right.
And I was fixing to get fired there. Anyways, like, oh, wow, that's crazy.
Amen. Look, again, it's about realizing that 20/20 hindsight, you can see things really, really well and it's really clear, but while it's happening, you can't see it. Okay? I mean, oh man, Zarek, I've had so many jobs and done so many things, but I gained certain little pieces of the skill sets I needed to do this in those things. So there was a purpose to those until I got to do this. You just can't see it while you're in it. Other people could see it later, or you could see it later, but you could see there was a purpose to it. Okay? All right, who's got the mic?
One thing that I've learned in my walk is that, and I say it all the time and have to remind myself that everything that comes into our lives is not ours. It's everything's Yahweh's. I mean, we wouldn't have anything if it weren't for Him. And just a small testimony, when I was still single, there was a couple, and they didn't have very much money, and I had $22 in my pocket. And it was a really cold night, and I told them, I said, you know, are y'all going to be warm enough? Oh, yeah, we'll make it, you know, and I was just thinking about the kids. And so I walked away, and I'm like, I only have $22, you know. And then the father told me, he said, that's not your money, that's my money. So I turned around, and I went up to him, and I said, I have $22. And I gave them the $22. I said, go get you a space heater or do what you got to do, you know. And the next day I got $100 in the mail out of nowhere. And I think that He wants us to see that we're at least willing, you know, to acknowledge the fact that we're not doing this on our own. And there's a balance. When my wife and I had our son, he's at his Ammy's house today. I came to realize that this is my son, this is our son, but it's still his son. And that He's blessed us enough with this child that we get to borrow him for a while, you know? And it's just a perspective that is, if we keep Him as the focus, what are we going to do with these things that we desire in a, you know, in a good way? What's our focus? What are we going to do for the kingdom, to build the kingdom up? What are we going to do for our brethren, or you know, one day? Is it my goals right now is to get to Israel? I haven't been to Israel yet. I want to go to Israel. I want to visit the land, and so I guess that's just one thing that we need to ask ourselves: what are our goals? You know, and it's to bless our family. That's awesome, because I'm getting started late in life. I've wasted a lot of time, so the Father's really gearing me up quickly. So I hope I haven't rambled. I hope I've shed some light on maybe what we're trying to focus on, but everything's His, and for us to never forget the fact that we wouldn't be where we're at without Him.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, anybody else? Okay, Janet again. I'm getting like a Sukkot deja vu.
Thank you, Rob. I always have a lot of questions. I'm going to just give you 2 questions, if you don't mind. Going back to Psalm 25, when it says, for your name's sake, O Yahweh, you shall pardon my crookedness, though it is great. I guess 3 questions. When we pray, would it be a good kind of way to pray for your name's sake? Because it's really for your name's sake, it's for your character, for who you are, with your kindness, with your compassion and all that. So I guess I wanted to understand a little bit more about if that's something that maybe we should be, it's a way to pray. But the other question I had was, do not remember the sins of my youth. That's on verse 7. And my transgressions. According to your loving commitment, remember me. So I know we were supposed to confess our sins. But I remember confessing a lot of the sins from my youth. But is that something that we need to, once it's confessed and forgiven.
It's all done.
Right, it's all done. And then the last one, when it says, who then, it's something about secret. The secret of Yahweh is with those who fear him, verse 14, and he makes his covenant known to them. For some reason, being Christian for so many years, I started thinking about dreams. And I don't know if our Father does reveal things to us through dreams. What's your take on that? Thank you.
All right, so the namesake thing, it probably is reasonable to bring that up, saying, look, Father, I want to bring glory and honor to your name, so please help me do this so that I don't embarrass you and that I can do that. As far as the sins of the youth thing, we already said yes. Once you've asked forgiveness, that's done and finished with. And as far as the dreams, I'd be really careful with that. I mean, people of all beliefs have dreams, and some of them are significant, some of them aren't. It's going to be really tough to know what is and what isn't. So I would make sure to find an anointed, appointed, and ask that question of them. They may not have a good answer for you, but I don't know. I know that he does, talk to people in dreams from time to time. But I would also say the same thing where, you feel like the spirit inside of you is leading you a certain way, or you feel like a voice is trying to tell you to go a certain way. It's not always the right one. There's more than one spirit, there's more than one voice. There's also more than one stimulator of your dreams, okay, including your own subconscious that's trying to sort through a bunch of stuff that you've been dealing with, and it sorts through it in the form of dreams. So it's always challenging to decide something is from him, okay? And so that would be my answer for that. Okay, who's next? Okay, Robert? Do you have any on the live stream?
Yeah, the first one is from Stephen Waffle. Please cover the reason or excuses heard why some forsake gathering with an assembly, and then the importance of doing so, gathering with an assembly or a family if the assembly is too far.
Okay, so look, I don't want anybody to feel guilty or bad because there's no place nearby to go, and not that you should go to just any place that's nearby. If you have a viable place to go to, you should go. Why? Because you will either receive or you will be the giver of something that somebody needed if you're there. If you're not there, you can't be used. You can't receive what needed to be received, or you can't give what needs to be given. Somebody may be at that place that needed you to be there for some reason, so you would have a conversation or whatever it was. Or you may have needed to run into somebody that you needed to hear from that would help you in something. That's not that happens every week, but if you don't go, you're not available. And so there's that part of it. Also, the idea of the Mikra Kodashim is that they are commanded assemblies, Shabbat being one of them, and they are gatherings of a group of people. And so if there is a place to do that. Now, if you're on live stream because you don't have that, then you're fine. I understand that. But if you're local to a place, like the place here, we got the places in Ohio, we got a place in Texas, in Wisconsin, all these in Nebraska. If you're near any of these places, then you should go if you're within reasonable driving distance. What is reasonable driving distance? I mean, if you're in an hour or less, you probably should have no reason not to go every week. If it's more than like 2 hours or more, maybe once a month, or maybe other week, it starts to be really challenging. Okay, so you don't want to be doing 3 and 4 hours each way on Shabbat. That's not really a Shabbat. I get that, I understand. But if your need for fellowship is great, you may justify doing that once a month or something, where you may go down a day before, stay overnight in a hotel or something, and then come back on Sunday. And so then you're not doing it on Shabbat. Okay, we've had people come here that were 5-6 hours away, but they would come every month and a half, 2 months, something like that, because they really wanted the fellowship, and they would make a longer trip of it. Okay, but understand that you are only missing stuff and hurting yourselves and possibly even hurting others by not coming, because you have something you're not giving yourself enough credit for your value and what you bring when you show up. That's what I think you're doing. You're shortchanging your own self-worth and self-value, that your coming actually will be missed by somebody and would have been valued by somebody by your not being there. Then you caused that lack. So yeah, you should make the effort to come. Anybody else?
Yeah, from Nick Goddard. Question is, Tehillim 25:20. Yah guards us as we guard and do the commands. Reminds him of judge not, whatever measure, as we forgive our debtors. Are these examples of Abba's reciprocal nature, like balanced scales, i.e. justice?
Sure, that's probably part of it. Look, this whole reaping and sowing thing, but there's a balance to it. Look, I mean, Yahweh says in the model prayer through Yeshua says, if you do not forgive others their trespasses, Yahweh won't forgive yours. I mean, I've often said when I teach leadership, when I teach husbands especially, even mothers, because they have leadership over their children, don't expect others to do what you're not willing to do. Don't expect your children to be submissive if you're not submissive. Don't expect your children to be respectful if you're not respectful. Don't expect, you understand what I'm saying? Don't expect your spouse to be what you're not willing to do. Don't expect people under your authority to do what you're not willing to do. Yahweh's the same way. Don't expect me to forgive you if you're not going to forgive others. Don't expect from me what you're not willing to do yourself. And we see that in other parables as well. Okay, anything else?
There's one that was typed in by Jonathan Thompson. Is there a connection with the fourth level of understanding in verse 14? The secrets of Yahweh are with those who fear him.
I don't think it's necessarily a sowed level thing. I just think that he takes things that are, because once he reveals them to you, aren't they pretty obvious? A lot of the things that he's shown you that you didn't know before. So they're hidden in plain sight things, not sowed level things. I think some of the things he's talking about, I could also be dealing with sowed level things, fourth level things, but I think he's referring in this verse as more the things that when you looked at it, you go like, wow, how did I never see that before? Okay, that's the kind of stuff. They're hidden in plain sight things. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, what from TC, what if it's a congregation that believes everything we believe, the feast, Sabbath, all of it, but still use the name Jesus, God, Lord?
No, look, the whole thing is, if it's a place where you would be uncomfortable, okay, which if they were doing these things, you might be uncomfortable, then you don't need to go. I understand that. But I'm saying if you have a viable place to go, a place where you're going to be continuously uncomfortable is not viable. Okay, some of you stay home just because it's convenient sometimes to stay home. I get that, okay? But just realize that if you have a place, that congregation needs your attendance. Now, if you have some issues with it or you're having challenges feeling comfortable with that decision, call us and let us help you walk through that decision. People have done that on a regular basis, saying, hey, this is the congregation I could go to. I really don't think I should be going there. What do you think? And I could help you walk that through. All right.
Get a picture with the gray and black people.
Where's my boy? Where's my boy?